What's going on, everybody? Good morning, good evening, wherever you are, and whatever time it is. Welcome back to yet another video with your man, Immersioholic, and welcome to episode 6 of my Lusitani head-to-head campaign using the Nervii to Impera over month for Total War Rome 2. Last episode, we finally kicked things off with Carthage, and we've basically knocked them out already. Unfortunately, you guys won't be able to see it because my footage got corrupted, but we actually also took the coastal town of Iole from the Carthaginians. So, as you can see here on the map, with Rome taking everything in the east, Carthage now has no more lands in western North Africa. And so now their capital is actually in Sardinia, and that is their final holding in the western Mediterranean. Although I believe they have a couple more cities in the eastern part of North Africa, more so towards Libya and such, but basically, Carthage is knocked out of the game for all intents and purposes. So before we get into this video though, let's do a little bit of an overview of our current situation. We're getting to be about 60 to 80 turns into the campaign at this point. And as you can see as we zoom in here, we have the majority of Iberia. We do have the Editani, which is the blue faction on the eastern coast. They are an ally. And the Lusitani to the northeast, who is neutral for now. Moving south, though, you'll see we have a few scattered armies. We have two major armies in the south that will be moving north, but we also have generals down there, and we have our foothold in northern Morocco, which we'll be maintaining just to keep a little bit of a beachhead into Africa. As we come east, we could get a closer look and see we've liberated the city of Iole, so we also have an ally there. Moving further east, we see Rome controls all of Carthage itself, Sicily, and Italy. But moving to the north, we could see the final capital and the last major holding of the Carthaginians. The little small coastal towns that they have in Africa are basically pointless at this point. So it's just a matter of time until the Romans finish them off. So we're going to leave Carthage alone and let the Romans stew over it. However, in the meantime, Rome has fallen. The city of Rome itself has fallen to the Nervii. That's right, your man Toxborg has been very busy marching his troops all the way down into central Italy, and he's actually taken the Eternal City for his own taking. What he did with it, we don't know, but we can only speculate as to the barbarity of the Blue Walkers. So now that they've made it all the way down to Italy, it is just a matter of time until they come for us. But right now, we also have a few armies. We have one army in the far north up here. This is basically our border army, just in case we suffer any incursions from the Gauls. We have another army further south towards Kartuba. This army is still in development, but it is also consisting of a new main battle line troop, which is basically the equivalent of a Roman legionnaire. They're very heavily armored and disciplined, so that'll be fun to use. And in North Africa, we still have one army as well, although this is a little bit of a looser army. It has our lower tier Illigurtan soldiers, so we'll have to swap them out soon. But the main idea is to move them all up north. Get them up here to the mountain range that borders Iberia and Gaul. We're going to basically set up in positions with our armies, and once we have them ready, the plan is to try and get out to Bertigala or one of the other major cities in southern Gaul. If we could take Bertigala, it would be a massive strong point in our war, or in upcoming war at least, against the Nervii. And as we're sending our scouts into Gaul, you can see the Nervii are starting to encroach on our lands. Our scouts spot massive Blue Walker armies coming our way. They are not the most elite of the armies that we've faced, and in fact are actually fairly low tier, and overall they shouldn't be too much of a match for our own armies. However, we don't know how many armies are coming our way. All we know is that they are making their way towards the Iberian Peninsula, and they will be knocking on our doors quite literally very, very soon. So what we're going to do is try and defend this pass right here. To the western side, we also have a forest where we'll be setting up one of our armies in an ambush stance. Probably this army here I've just circled. But we'll still be trying to move more armies up north because we're expecting an attack from the Nervii at any point. In this campaign, we had to wait at least 50 turns before me and Toxborg could declare war on each other, and now that has long since passed. However, our spies now also spot two massive Nervii armies, and again, even though the quality isn't massively high, that is a lot of Blue Walkers to deal with, so we're going to have to really quickly send our armies back north before they get into the peninsula. After just a couple months though, the Blue Walkers finally begin crossing into our territory. It looks like that they're going to be heading for one of our cities on the border of Iberia and Golo, so we're basically preparing for that. The Nervii do send us an ultimatum as well. The ultimatum is that we have to join them in the war against Rome, and we have to basically allow them military access to roam our lands as they see fit. It's either that or war. So our response is breaking our treaties with the Nervii. We do not submit to the demands of anyone, let alone some barbarian blue walker nobodies. Winter has kicked in though, but as you can see here as we zoom in a little bit, we do have the two massive Nervii armies, and now they begin raiding in response to our diplomatic ending of our relationship with them. The raiding is an act of war, although officially not a declaration of war, but it's basically an act of war in our eyes, and so our armies are trying to prepare as quickly as we can, but the winter is slowing us down, but it's also slowing down the Nervii. So what we're going to do is send an army west of the town up here that the Nervii are obviously heading towards, and since this isn't a very good army, we're going to basically keep it visible to them, and we're going to garrison the city itself with them. Our army that's already in ambush stance in the north will hold. Meanwhile, our army coming up from the south will be in an ambush stance as well, just to make sure that the Nervii don't instead go south towards Numantia and our other central territory. So now we're basically prepared for them. We just have to see how the Nervii will react. Winter passes and their raiding stops, and instead the full-fledged flown invasion begins. The Nervii are coming, ladies and gentlemen. Finally, between me and your man Toxborg, war is being declared, and they are now trying to attack our cities.
I bring your word from our elders and wise women, crafted in good faith and delivered with war! We will make your homes a wasteland, despoil your women, enslave your children, and desecrate your ancestors' graves.
As you can see, many allies are joining the fight, but our own allies are joining, and of course, our ambush works perfectly. We capture one of his armies completely off guard, and we have thousands of angry and furious Iberians ready to charge in and begin the ambush. So now, ladies and gentlemen, let's go into the first official battle between your man Emergaholic and Toxborg of the Nervii. And here we are on the battlefield. These blue walkers have absolutely no idea what they've just walked into. They're in the middle of a valley surrounded by steep cliffs. Our army completely surrounds them. So now we just need to make sure that we execute our ambush properly, just like we have hundreds of times. They have a lot of chariots, though. This is something we have never encountered. Chariots could be the bane of our armies, or it could just be another petty little obstacle for us to overcome. We'll have to see. We haven't really gone up against them at all, though. So the plan of attack is obviously to just charge in from either side, basically. But we are trying to prioritize certain targets. For example, we're targeting the skirmishers. We're also trying to shut down their chariots before they can actually escape the enemy formation. If they do, then they'll be able to deal a lot of damage to us. So I'm going to have my skirmishers up here I'm highlighting for you, focusing on them and the general, because the general is actually at the front of the enemy formation. Meanwhile, from the cliffs, our soldiers will basically charge down to whatever is in front of them. However, we do also have our elephants. These elephants have been hired from northern Morocco, and they will be coming in and dealing devastating damage to the center of the enemy formation, which is where the blob of the enemy swordsmen and cavalry is mainly contained. So they'll charge straight in, and then they will work their way down the hill if needed. So let's see how we go on the charge. The battle begins, of course, with our elephants charging straight in. I think this is our first battle with our elephants, actually, so we'll see how well they do. They charge in beautifully into the enemy cavalry, although the battle replay glitches out a little, and we don't see the enemy cap die, but trust me, they did die. And chaos erupts across the entire battlefield. The enemy army is immediately losing their skirmishers and war dogs. They rout instantly. They don't even bother to stand and fight, the cowards that they are. Meanwhile, further up the battle line, we're also seeing their spearmen, levy units, and skirmishers already wavering, and many of them already routing completely, as you can see there, and I just highlighted it for you. At the main battle line, though, in the center, the enemy infantry is holding. They have some decent elite swordsmen that will be a pain in the butt, and they will last for quite a while in the formation. They've managed to form up a main battle line in either direction, so we're going to have to just swarm them and cut them down. Meanwhile, the enemy chariots managed to just slip out of our grip just barely, and so they are getting recharges on some of our enemy contingents. Although we are targeting them with our skirmishers, and you'll see the skirmisher fire come in shortly, which will deal some devastating damage. And there it is. Boom. Very nice. However, the main issue is that the enemy is targeting our general. The enemy chariots and their cavalry managed to escape, and they're coming straight up into our general upon the southern mountain here. So we have our elephants getting involved, trying to save our general. Meanwhile, our reinforcements that are coming in from the town nearby are also rushing forward with their cavalry. So they're coming in from the right-hand side of the screen. Meanwhile, our other cavalry is coming in from the left. So we are surrounding the enemy chariots and cav, and it shouldn't be too much of an issue, but it was super risky there for a minute. You could see thousands more Iberians coming in the distance. But basically already, this battle is almost over. We just need to make sure we get this cavalry out of the way, and they're wavering, but then they are gone. And here we have a close-up of the enemy general. He's getting surrounded by Iberian swordsmen who are pushing up into the enemy general's formation. But then, boom, we have the elephants come in. These elephants will prove invaluable in our upcoming battles against the Nervii and everyone else, really. But they come in at the perfect time, and they crush the enemy general, quite literally step on his little blue head and put him to sleep. And now it's just up to the elite swordsmen of the Nervii to try and outlast our own men. But it's not really happening. They are inflicting some casualties on a couple of our units, but our skirmishers are now targeting them completely. Plus, our elephants are coming in from the mountain from the north. You can see up here, they're about to swing in along that red line and get a beautiful charge. Plus, we also have infantry coming in, so it's only a matter of moments before this elite Nervii swordsman gets destroyed. There it is there, with that charge, the elephants decimate the Nervii swordsmen, absolutely crushing them. And we get the entire enemy army routing. Not only do we get them routing, but we chase them down. We have some Numidian cavalry in this army, so they will chase down the elite swordsmen, especially of the Nervii army, and cut them down, hopefully to a man, although many of the enemy have already routed off the field. And here are the statistics if you want to have a look. Unfortunately, a couple of our units took some casualties, mainly our general, one of our light swordsman units, and one of our cav units. Our cavalry is very light though, but they're very fast, so it's understandable we'll take some casualties there, but in the meantime, our bear warriors did fantastic. Our elephants didn't get a lot of kills, but they routed a lot of units, so it was worth it. The main thing we need to worry about though is the elite swordsmen of the Nervii. The rest of their army didn't really get many kills at all. Their war dogs were pretty useless, and their chariots, while they got a couple kills, they just were not worth the bang for their buck. So I'm not too worried about the chariots moving forward in further battles. We get a decisive victory against the Nervii in our first ever battle against them, which goes absolutely perfectly. We end up enslaving the captives, putting them into the fields in chains, just like the barbarians that they are. However, we still have another massive Nervii army to deal with. We still have an army from the south, ready to ambush them if needed, although it isn't really needed at this point. Now that we've crushed one of the Nervii armies, it is time for us to finish it off, because a large chunk of it actually managed to rout and escape. So what we're going to do is launch a night battle. Many of my generals have been trained to organize their armies in the dead of night. This battle will be no different. And even though we fought it manually, I'm not going to bother showing it because it was basically an easy victory in the dark. We have another decisive victory against the Nervii, again taking only light casualties for the sake of wiping out basically their entire army, although somehow again their general managed to escape. Well, not their general, but a couple of their units, so we'll finish them off without any issue at all. All that takes is a quick and swift auto-resolve, and now we quite literally have wiped out an entire army of Blue Walkers, although we still have that one massive army in the center of our three armies right here. We kill the rest of the captives, and then we begin marching towards the enemy army. Now, it does try to retreat into the mountains, but it can't escape in time. And now we have a massive battle on our hands. 10,000 furious Iberians are chasing down the remnants of the Nervii invasion. So here we have a massive battle on our hands. 10,000 Lusitani warriors marching onto the field of battle. This is a large battlefield though, and it's taking place mostly on the cliffs. We have the higher ground, the enemy has the low ground. So we're going to have to claw our way through the forest to make sure that no blue walkers are hiding anywhere, and then form up a formation with our massive numbers going across the entire battlefield. It will take quite a while though, so we'll have to skip through a fair bit of this battle, but as you can see, our reinforcements are coming in just behind our own army as well, so they will all form up pretty easily without too many issues. As our men continue pushing through the forest, we don't find any signs of the blue walkers whatsoever. No units are hiding behind our formation or off to the side, but still we need to remain vigilant, and especially in future battles we need to watch out for that and make sure that they don't catch us off guard. But so far, the battle is going pretty good. So looking at the tactical overview, you can see basically this is the entire battlefield here. We have our army stretched from one side to the other. On the eastern side, we have a group of reinforcements coming in, so they will maintain their position over there. In the center, at the rear, we have more reinforcements, and on the left side of the screen is our main army. So we cover quite literally the entire battlefield. So we're going to go from one side of the field to the other, form up a line, and continue moving forward. We do spot some enemy contingents moving towards us, but it's just some cavalry just trying to scout out our own positions because the enemy doesn't know where we are either. However, eventually we do track down the enemy main battle line. They are taking position in the corner of the battlefield down below the cliffs. They have a position where they have basically box themselves into where they have a ridge covering their left-hand flank. You can see here, I'm about to highlight it in green for you. That entire ridge we cannot scale up, so they're trying to nullify our numbers advantage. However, we still need to try our best to do what we can, but it's obvious that is where the main position of the Nervii is. We just need to make sure that they don't have any other hidden units, but they didn't, and so we will form up our main battle line and a massive line right in front of them. Here you can see the extent of how large our battle line is. As we get further away from our main battle line, it is just a few scouting parties out here stationed along the cliffs at specific intervals to make sure that the Nervii don't try to run away past us or anything like that. So our flanks are completely secure at this point. Now we move forward our slingers and begin bombarding the enemy with their Balearic stones, and they're doing quite well with it as well. They'll get a lot of kills even on these armored units. Slingers in general are actually pretty decent at killing armored units. However, the enemy gets very mad about that, and they send forward a cavalry contingent to try and stop our skirmishes, but they send it right towards our elephants and our own cavalry. So to save our slingers, we pull them back, and then we swamp them with our elephants and all of our cavalry, and the Nervii don't stand a chance and immediately recognize that and try to run away. Our elephants will take some fire, but nothing that could be too much of a concern because the enemy just can't hit them enough to where they'll do serious damage. Meanwhile, we've wiped out one of the enemy infantry contingents, but at this point, the battle takes a very different turn. One of the Nervii captains steps forward and demands basically a one-on-one fight with their champions versus our own. So what we do is we send forward a unit of our bear warriors. They are the most elite of the elite for us. They are the best warriors that the Lusitani have to offer. So our Lusitani bear warriors will face off against one unit of the Nervii. The Nervii send forward what looks like to be a mercenary unit of Germanic berserkers. Interesting that they would pay someone to come out and do the fighting for them, but that is what they've chosen. They are a large confederacy and they host a lot of different nations, so I guess it's kind of understandable. But anyway, the champion battle begins with the bear warriors charging head on into the berserkers. One-on-one combat ensues across the whole little line here. Pretty quickly though, we'll see that the Bear Warriors are already getting the upper hand. They do better on the charge, and they have better armor and better skills, so they're cutting down the Berserkers very quickly. And despite the Berserkers trying to hide behind their little shields, it will not be enough, and they're getting cut down extremely fast here. Our Bear Warriors are coordinating very well, getting those one-on-one battles that they need, and are doing perfect with it. With the champions of both armies starting to get exhausted, the Berserkers are getting very worn down especially, and here you can see that they're actually very close to wavering. They begin to waver, and then shortly after wavering, they actually run off the battlefield and don't even fight to the death. So the Lusitani Bear Warriors win this battle of champions. However, the Nervii try to stab us in the back by hitting all of our Bear Warriors with a massive barrage of their little hidden archers that they're hiding on the ridge. Very cowardly to shoot them in the back after we had an honorable battle on the battlefield, but oh well, I guess that is the Nervii way, so we'll have to be wary of that in the future. In response though, our Balearic Slingers unleash a massive volley of fire in return and begin pinning down the enemy elite swordsmen, but now is the time for our armies to clash, so we move forward all of our infantry into one massive line. Facing off against the Nervii contingents, we are almost charging uphill here in certain positions, but we charge in with our own cavalry against the enemy swordsmen and spearmen to try and disrupt their formation. Might not be the best idea for the cavalry, but we need their formation disrupted so our swordsmen can have a better charge against them. The enemy tries to respond with a counterattack, but it's too late. Our cavalry has done the damage, and our swordsmen will get excellent charges across the entire battle line. But as you can see here, things are getting incredibly chaotic very quickly. There's a lot of skirmisher fire going back and forth. The enemy has archers up on their ridgeline that are hidden from us, so it's basically out of our range from our Balearic Slingers. But their naked warriors launch a little counterattack against our Bear Warriors, but the Bear Warriors are easily going to overpower them. Despite these guys being fanatical and willing to fight naked, their skill is just way too subpar for our Bear Warriors, and the Bears absolutely will crush them into oblivion. They will take some casualties though, to be fair, but that is also coming in from the archer fire of the Nervii, which is targeting our own men. Unfortunately for the Nervii, their cavalry is also all boxed in behind their own lines, so because of that, we actually don't have to worry about our flanks at all anymore. They're not able to circle around us, and so we're just trying to force our way through the center. We're basically making ground everywhere, and here you'll in fact see a massive gap opening up in the main battle line of the enemy. So we'll be sending forward swordsmen and our cavalry to start swinging around the enemy and circling them and hitting them from behind. And you can see it's already happening on the most southern edge of the battlefield here. We have about 6 Lusitani units going up against 3 Nervii, and they will get absolutely crushed very quickly. In the meantime though, after seeing that massive envelopment happen, the enemy general loses heart and routes off the battlefield like the coward he is. And as he does that, the rest of his army follows in suit. The entire Nervii invasion has now finally been destroyed, ladies and gentlemen. We did it. The Lusitani are victorious with another decisive victory. And here are the stats if you want to see them. You can see our Bear Warriors did pretty excellent with their kills. However, they did take some casualties because the enemy targeted them with their archers especially. So we really need to be careful of that and perhaps need to protect them better. Our new armored main battle line swordsmen also did very good and took almost no casualties. So we'll have to try to use them a lot more in the future as well. The majority of the enemy army was wiped out here, although because that they had already retreated away from us, this actually means that they will now be completely destroyed, and so we won't have to chase them down. So we will be merciful and ransom the captives back to their Blue Walker masters in the north. But for all intents and purposes, the war with the Nervii is now over. Their expedition to try and punish us has failed, and so we will now negotiate a peace with the Nervii. We went back and forth on a lot of different things, trying to decide what our demands were, but ultimately, We demanded 12 turns of peace, a single year where absolutely no aggressive behavior can be conducted from either party, and we also demanded that they permanently break their alliance with the Averni. If they can break their alliance with the Averni, that means that we can actually consider launching invasions into Gaul and hopefully having a chance against the Nervii and their massive amounts of numbers, which is basically around 6 armies in total at this point, but we're not certain. So eventually, the Nervii do agree to permanently end their alliances with the Averni. So now their only alliance is with the Massalians, which is still a powerful faction, but I would rather fight the Massalians as opposed to fighting the hordes of Gauls that will be coming in. And so, ladies and gentlemen, that's where we're going to end our video today. We had to fend off an invasion of the Blue Walkers. We did perfectly. However, perhaps in the next war we will not be so lucky. We'll have to wait and see. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I shall see you in the next one.